All right, guys, welcome back. This is Let's Read number 5. This is the summer 1988 edition of the Nintendo Power Flash, and this is one of the earliest ones. Actually, I think this is number 1, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is probably the first one. It's got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out before he became disgraced, and Nintendo basically dumped Mike Tyson from the Punch-Out game. So then they called featuring Mr. Dream, right? So it was a different game. So the contract with Mike Tyson had run out by then, and they just didn't renew it. So, and given there were a lot of things happening at the time. So anyways, let's flip this open. Here we have this Quentin Tarantino looking dude. Advertisement for, what is this, Gunsmoke? Yeah. Welcome to the first issue of the Nintendo Power Flash. It's action and information packed and created especially for Power Club members like you. So this was the first issue you got when you basically filled in that little reply card, put a stamp on it, sent it in, and then they gave you all this stuff. So this is the first issue. And here they didn't have a top 10, they had a top 5. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was number 1. Big surprise. Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, and Kid Icarus. So this is the first issue. Let's keep flowing. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So I talk a little bit about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for me was a great game, very difficult. And it's an interesting game because it's not a sports game really. So it's pretty much like a game of memorization. It's almost like a puzzle game in a way because you have to figure out the different patterns, how to beat the people. So that was very interesting. RC Pro-Am, Ice Hockey, very good game. I personally like Blades of Steel better. Rad Racer, again, these are the dates of games coming up. Konami Games. Konami was just hitting one after another. They were just doing so well with these games. Life Force, fantastic game, which you could also use the Contra code, Konami code, sorry. A map of Zelda, the overworld map. So this was very helpful for the time. Tells you where to find things. Pros Corner. So we have Metroid, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Then I guess here's where they're introducing Super Mario Brothers 2. If you liked all the fast action adventure of the original Super Mario Brothers, get ready for a whole new world, or shall we say worlds, of adventure in Super Mario Brothers 2. So here they're saying in Super Mario Bros. 2, you'll have the choice of 4 different characters. So this is when they used basically the engine from Doki Doki Panic in the game. Members Forum, advertisement for Predator, Super Pitfall, Zombie Master. Never played either of those games, although this looks pretty good. Graphics there look pretty good for early Nintendo games. Mailbag and another advertisement of Rambo. So this was, that's the NES Max. This is a pretty good controller, although it's not my favorite controller. But anyways, so that was the summer 1988 edition of the Nintendo Power Flash. And I guess I'll include this one right now. Last but not least is the Zelda Fall 1988 edition of the Nintendo Power Flash. So this, I guess, was the second issue. This one's in not as good condition. This was basically my first. So all the other ones that I've been reviewing, pretty much, they haven't been mine. This was my first that I received as a kid when I was 10 years old. So this one's in a little poor condition. Advertisement for Pac-Man by Tenjin. Top 5 here, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., Tyson's Punch-Out, Adventure of Link, and Metroid. Keep this thing moving. We have a pretty decent look in the game of Zelda 2, including the first few palaces here, how to pass them. It's pretty good, pretty useful. Super Mario Brothers 2, I guess this is when they were just introducing the game. An advertisement for 1943. Pros Corner from like Tyson's Punch-Out, Ice Hockey. So you could tell it's always the same games that they're talking about, right? And since this was a Nintendo product, Nintendo Power Flash, you know, they basically talk more about Nintendo games versus anything else. So a lot of Metroid, Kid Icarus, Ice Hockey, Punch-Out, Zelda, right? They talk about the Zelda second quest for Zelda. Here they have a few sneak peeks. So for Data East games, basically this was, I guess, an advertisement for Data East, advertisement for Bubble Bobble, members forum again, different things. Here we have the legendary Nintendo wrap. It's The Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Not that good. Sorry about it, guys. Mailbag and an advertisement for Ultra Games. Ultra Games was essentially Konami, but they weren't called Konami. It was called Ultra. It was just a way for, because back in the day, publishers, Nintendo didn't allow publishers to make more than a certain number of games since the 1983 video game crash, right? So they were worried that they were just going to put out way too many games and the quality of the game would suffer. So companies were basically opening up other subsidiary companies under new names in order to get around that publishing limit. So Konami did this by creating Ultra Games. And, oh, the NES Advantage. So we saw in a previous video that I showed you my NES Advantage. And basically, yeah, so a little advertisement for that. So this wraps up our Nintendo Power Flash retrospective. So we took a look at 9 issues of the Nintendo Power Flash. Next, for other Let's Reads, I think I'm going to be looking at some old Nintendo Power magazines and maybe some old other newsletters such as the Nintendo Fun Club and some other things that I have. So anyways, stay tuned, guys. Until the next time.